Hello and welcome to the another episode of Daily News Analysis for IH 2025. It is 14th August today and we are going to discuss these four important articles. Before we start our discussion, I would like to give you the brief about this initiative. Every day we upload two videos on this YouTube channel for you guys for your for making your preparation easy. We upload two videos on this YouTube channel. In the first one we discuss the daily news analysis. We try to discuss the most important articles which are relevant for your exam. We try to break them into the simplest language possible so that it would be easy for you to understand those topics, and by that you can pile up your information for your examination. And in the evening session, we upload another video in which we discuss the daily quiz. We discuss the questions which we frame from the current affairs itself, so that it will give you the brief idea. It will give you the idea how the questions may be asked from the current affairs, how you can implement the knowledge of current affairs in towards your examination, how you can give the real implementation of your knowledge, and it will give you the idea how questions could come from the current affairs, and also help you revise your current affairs. And also we discuss few previous year questions too, so that it will give the absolute idea how the questions do come in the exam, and what can be the methods by which you can solve the questions and also gain information from them. Before we start our discussion, I would like to request you guys, please do subscribe the channel, share it with your friends, and also do write in the comments what are the changes which we should bring in. What do you want from us? We are here open to deliver anything. Do write in the comments what do you want. We will definitely try to deliver that. So without any delay, let's look at the topics now. The first one, we have to discuss India's foreign policy with respect to its extreme neighbors. Has India failed in its foreign policy? The conditions happening, the things happening in our neighborhood, for example Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Maldives, and Sri Lanka. Is Was India aware of that, and what had India done what has India done to protect its interests? So with respect to that, we will discuss it. After that, we will have a brief discussion about the governance in Delhi, how it has been always a standoff between, how there is always a standoff between the Delhi government and the central government, and what can the governments do to solve this long-lasting conflict. After that, we will discuss about the civil registration system, the glitches in it, which has been found out. We will discuss about it. Finally, we will discuss about the Dordo's successful test, Dordo as they successfully tested long-range glide bomb. After, these are the topics which we will discuss. Now, without wasting any further time, go to the topics itself. The first one, India, South Asia, and India's foreign policy. You know, According to the author, we will try to discuss this with respect to the article itself. We will keep our knowledge brief to the article here. According to the author, she is trying to say that India has failed in its foreign policy. While these conditions are happening in the South Asia, India could have done better. India's foreign policy, it is very much limited to particular leaders only. It is very much limited to the particular parties. It is only limited to the ruling parties of the foreign of our neighborhood countries, and we were not able to develop our relationship with other opposition parties, so that we could have protected our interests. So with respect to that, there had been lot has changed since 2001 itself. For example, in 2021, what happened, we saw that there was a military regime in Myanmar, regime change in Myanmar. There was military coup, and military regime came in Myanmar. We had either There are two things which is a problem here. First one, either India has underestimated the power of the military in Myanmar, or they were very much aware of that, but they did not do anything. Either there was some intelligence issue from the India's side, or India did not worked with other with the opposition there, with the people who are fighting for their rights there. India did not work with them. So there are some issues which are residing there, which are definitely there, that India is falling short in this. Then finally, after Myanmar, we saw the conditions in Afghanistan that Taliban reigned over the country. They took the control. Our stand has always, before Taliban took over the control, India never tried to, contact with Taliban. They never tried to talk with the Taliban because for us they were always the extremists. They were always the terrorists. Irrespective of that, the other countries like China, Iran, Pakistan, and other countries, even USA, they try to negotiate with the Taliban. They try to protect their interests. They were very much aware of that. The Taliban will definitely will definitely run their country again. Then always, here again, the question arises: did India underestimated the Taliban, or India knew about it, but they did not work with them? So we put all our eggs in the one basket because we believed that the democracy, the elected government in Afghanistan would stay forever. I think that India believed that, and we had that relationship with them, the good relationship, the friendly relationship with them only. We did not try to talk with the Taliban. We either underestimated them, or we had very arrogant approach towards them. So that has diluted our interests. We had huge investment in Afghanistan. If we are not able to, maintain our relationship with the Taliban now, our all of our investments would go into the waste. So here the question arises: why India is so hesitant to talk with the opposition parties? Why India was hesitant to talk with the Taliban itself? Why India did not secure its interests? Then similarly, the condition arose in the Sri Lanka's economic crisis, where sudden regime change was there also. Their economic crisis, huge economic crisis. Here also, there is frustration in the people. The country is not, we were not able to cope. We were not able to react to that situation earlier. We could have done better. We could have, had better relationship with them. We could have, you know contact contact we could have developed a great contact with them. We could have helped them on the time, but we delayed this, and finally everything, at the end, it does not go well with our foreign policy. Then finally, if we would see the condition in Pakistan itself, the Imran Khan's government got toppled. We could have tried to develop a good relation with them. We could have, put our differences aside and try to develop this relationship with Pakistan itself, but we had never tried it. We had always, we had always hostile approach towards them, and they also had hostile approach towards us. But still having this approach, we have hostile approach with China too, but still we are trying to communicate with them. We are trying to develop the relationship. That same approach could be given to the Pakistan also, but we had not tried to do that. We had this we had that barrier. There is animosity between the countries, and it is finally affecting our foreign policy. So the question here arises that, is India, either India is not aware, either it is the question on our intelligence, that our intelligence is so weak that we are not aware of these conditions, or we are underestimating them. We are not trying to develop the relationship. We are being so arrogant that we had put all the eggs in one basket. Finally, we had the case of Bangladesh. Before this issue came in the Bangladesh, the protests, and finally when the Sheikh Hasina resigned, India had not seen even in a single article that India has, visioned that could happen. India, there was no article about that. There were no official statements from the Indian side that such thing can happen, that there would be the toppling of the government. Sheikh Hasina would resign. They had not visioned that. So this raises a question on our intelligence too, on our relationship with the opposition too. When India does not vision that, we had least relationship with the opposition leaders too. We did not try to contact with them. Even though the opposition in Bangladesh, they are very anti-India, but if we had tried to contact with them, if we had assessed the conditions very properly, we could have, we could have developed a better relationship and saved our interests, and हम अपने इंटरेस्ट को सेव कर पाते. बट it was our arrogance, I could say. the author could say that we did not had that relationship with them, we never talked with them, and we underestimated the protests there, we underestimated the power of the youth there. That's why we were not able to develop this relationship with the opposition. And finally right now we are in a position that we cannot we cannot मतलब कि हम बर्दाश्त नहीं कर पाएंगे कि हमें दूसरा पाकिस्तान in our east, we cannot tolerate that another Pakistan will develop in our east, because the government which is going to come there, it would be definitely anti-India, and our interests would not be मतलब कि fulfilled there. They won't fulfill our interests, they won't come to our expectations, and it will definitely harm our relations. Now the question here arises, has India really failed in our foreign policy? The answer from this article, we could say that we had definitely failed in our foreign policy. We had kept all eggs in one basket. Similarly, last year we saw the case of the this year itself we saw the case of Maldives. How we mishandled the situation. We could have developed a better relationship with the President Moizu, with his government, but it was our arrogance. We did not talk with them because his stand earlier was anti-India. And if we will not try to better our relationship, if we won't talk with the opposition like BNP in Bangladesh, like governments in Pakistan, like Taliban in Afghanistan, if we won't talk with them, if we will underestimate them, if we will underestimate the people, it will definitely harm our foreign policy, it will definitely harm our interests, because we had huge investment in these countries, very huge investment, billions of investment in these countries. We have billions of investment in Afghanistan itself, and we are not able to save our interests. If anything goes wrong with the Taliban, then our investment is gone, our interests are gone. So similarly these cases arise. Now talking about the Bangladesh, coming back to it, we already knew one thing about that, about Sheikh Hasina, that she was very much authoritarian. There were countries, they were giving statements against her. USA gave statements against her, different countries gave statements against her, but India remained very silent because she was our friendly partner. That is where India was wrong. India could have curtailed her, you know India could have put her under pressure. India should have understood it, that if India, मतलब कि अगर हम in the simpler terms, India underestimated the power of the youth in Bangladesh. If India would had visioned that, India could have talked with the Bangladeshi leader Sheikh Hasina. India could have put her under pressure, and saved its interests. But unfortunately, because of our friendly relations, India remained silent with this issue, and finally our interests are in danger right now. So what can be the way forward from it? These conditions, these things are not happening for the first time. They had, for example, Taliban issue happened in 2001 itself. We should have understood from it, we should have taken a lesson from it, how we could have improved our relationship with the opposition leaders. But unfortunately we are not learning from our mistakes. Right now it is the major time for India to understand, to learn its mistakes, to assess the conditions of our country, of our neighboring countries. We have first for a country to be the prosperous, for a country to be secure, they have to secure their neighborhood. We cannot have hostile, we cannot afford to have an hostile neighborhood. We already have Pakistan, we already have China, we cannot afford another Pakistan in east, we cannot afford the Afghanistan's aggression towards us, Taliban's aggression towards us. We cannot afford Myanmar to be very much unstable. We cannot afford Nepal. There was also a change of regime. KP Oli came back. His stands are always against anti-Indian. So we cannot afford this. So what India should have done, what India should do? First, India should try to, you know, for their neighboring countries, their vision should be very much neutral towards every political party. Even though they have anti-Indian stands, we are a big country, we are the world's biggest democracy. We should try to talk with them. We should try to develop the friendly relations with them. We should interact, engage with every political party, every social subject there. We should interact with everyone, try to interact with everyone, and we should for matlab majorly we should look at the concerns of the people in these countries. And people or the democracies. People make the countries. It is the people who, if those concerns are fulfilled, definitely the country is the relation with the country is गुड. अगर हम लोगों का मतलब कि अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल बांग्लादेश में हम लोगों की इच्छाएं जो थी लोगों व्हाट यूथ वांटेड देयर इफ वी वुड हैड put pressure on the Sheikh Hasina's government and discussed with her the issues of the youth there, I think this situation would have never arose. This situation would have never came in like the conditions which are right now. So what India's foreign policy should be, they should focus on what are the demands of the people in their foreign in their neighborhood, and they should try to convince the respective governments with respect to that. They should look at the broader picture. They should try to contact with every political party which is involved in their every every and every party which is मतलब कि जो which has some importance in the particular country. We should interact with them and try to develop the better try to develop the better relations with every political party there, with the people there, and save our interests. This should be the India's approach. We should learn from our mistakes now, and we should not try to repeat these mistakes in the future, because South Asia is always on the hotbed. These things always happen. In Pakistan itself, we would have never imagined a few years back the Nawaz Sharif will come back, but still he came back. Right now, we cannot imagine that Imran Khan would come back, but who knows what can happen in the future. So we should try to develop the good relations with everybody in these particular countries and save our interests. So this was about this article. I hope I did not make it complicated to you guys. I tried to make it very simple. I tried to make it so simple that it would be easily understandable for you. Please do write in the comments if any change is needed while teaching, while explaining these topics. Now moving to the next article, it's about the governance in Delhi. NCT, National Capital Territory of Delhi, and center, always there is a standoff between these two. There is always point of friction between union government and the Delhi government. Especially when the Delhi government and the union government are governed by the opposite political parties. Right now, for the union government, we have NDA government, we have BJP ruled government, and in Delhi there is Aam Aadmi Party ruled, very opposite to each other, and there is always a conflict of interests. There is always political standoff between the center and the state. Why we are discussing this? Recently we saw a Supreme Court judgment in which the Supreme Court, they ruled that the Lieutenant Governor has the absolute discrete authority that he can nominate officials in the Municipal Corporation of Delhi without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers of Delhi government. So it gave this absolute right to the Lieutenant Governor, and in that way it diluted the right and power of the elected government of the Delhi. So there is always a standoff between that. And this, Supreme Court judgment, it undermines the Delhi government. About Delhi government, we should understand some little historic background to it. In 1950, it was given the Part C state. It was put in the Part C state, and during 1956, it was made a union territory. And by the 69th Amendment Act, it was given the elected assembly. In this elected assembly, there were three important subjects, which are land, public order, and police. They were put under the union government. Why they were put under the union government? Because there is one important thing in this, that this Delhi is the capital of the country. There are all the offices of the union government are there. All foreign, most of the foreign embassies are there. It is very much crucial for the union to control it. So for that, union government, they demand that it should be controlled by union government itself. There should be at least control over land, police, and public order. So And also for the local administration, we have Municipal Corporation of Delhi there. There has been constant friction between center and Delhi government. There has been political standoff. Ministry of Home Affairs and center has crippled the Delhi government, according to the Delhi government officials, not allowing them free hand. Powers of Delhi government are always in friction. There had been different judgments with respect to it. In 2016, government of NCT Delhi and Union, where the Supreme Court upheld the powers of Lieutenant Governor in 2016, in appointed Lieutenant Governor as head. In 2018, Supreme Court reversed this judgment and the powers were given to the Delhi elected government of the Delhi. And in 2018 judgment, the Supreme Court mentioned about three chain accountability system, where that accountability, Council of Ministers are accountable to the Assembly, and Assembly is accountable to the people. So it is the people who should who should rule this particular state, this particular union territory, and they elected the Council of Ministers, they elected the MPs, and they become the Council of Ministers. So power should remain with them. Then actually, in this, the Supreme Court restored this balance and restricted the lieutenant governor's power to the three subjects only, which were the police, land, and public order. Then amendment was brought in by the Union Government of India, where Council of Ministers has to consult the Lieutenant Governor before making any law in any subject. This case went to the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court restored the Delhi government's power. It rejected it and restored the Delhi government's power. Then government of NCT of Delhi Amendment Act 2023 were brought in, where it curtails the transfer of officials power, power of Chief Minister of Delhi to transfer the officials, national cap and it brought out the National Capital Civil Service Authority, and by this the elected government power was further detained. And also there, after this judgment, after the recent judgment in where Supreme Court upheld the Lieutenant Governor's power, the governor's power to appoint to nominate the persons for the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, it further curtailed the powers of the Council of Ministers or the CM of the Delhi or the elected government of the Delhi. Now the question is, there would be always the turmoil, there would always be the standoff between the Delhi government and the union government. So what can be the solution to this problem? According to some of the officials, they said that it is not, right now in the NCT of Delhi, the portion we should focus on is national capital, New Delhi, where all the offices of union government are, while embassies are there. So it is said that the union should control the land, law and order and police, इन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया, मतलब कि जो एनसीआरटी में एनसीटी दिल्ली में जो एरिया है न्यू दिल्ली का, वहाँ पे जो सारे एम्बेसीज है, वहाँ पे यूनियन के सारे ऑफिसेज है. सो ये कहा जाता है कि सिर्फ उस एरिया में लैंड, पब्लिक ऑर्डर और पुलिस को कंट्रोल किया, मतलब इट शुड बी केप्ट अंडर एलजी, और फिर लेफ्टिनेंट गवर्नर, और जो बाकी एरिया बचेगा द रेस्ट एरिया इट शुड बी केप्ट फॉर द दिल्ली. सो इट इज़ वन ऑफ द सजेशन दैट इन the new Delhi itself, the land, public order and police should be kept under the control of union government, and for the rest of the Delhi, for the rest of the union territory, it should be given under the Council of Ministers, under the elected government. So in this way this can be solved, but there are larger opinions to be taken in, there are larger interests for the union government, also for the Delhi government also. So it would remain the point of friction between these two until some tight and final solution would be given. So with this, let's move towards the next order. It is about the CRS, which is civil registration system. In this there had been found. Moving to the another article, it is CRS, which is civil registration system. With this, in the civil registration system, there some of the glitches have been found in this system. So let's try to understand what this civil registration system is. It is the portal where we have to register every birth and death that happen in the country. Previously this registration was done by the states. It was done manually, and after that the registration of births and deaths act was amended, and CRS has been made mandatory. So this civil registration system has been made mandatory. you know Number of technical glitches in online portal has been found out. At state level, states have lost a lot of data because of the migration. Case of lost data is there. OTPs are not generated on time. This is very challenging process. There is frustration in public. People have to wait for the longer duration, and also there is this questions the poor design of the portal. So there has been the questions, there has been the huge glitches in this portal. So huge problems are there. So this is about the civil, this is about CRS. What are the glitches in this portal? OTPs are generated, it takes longer time to generate OTPs. you know there is poor design in the portal. There is loss of data, and it will definitely impact the policy making of the government itself. So this is about the CRS. What is it? It is the civil registration system. It has been brought out. It is the online portal to register every birth and death. It was earlier, it was done by the states to bring the uniformity. It was brought in, so it has been made mandatory. But there are some technical glitches. What are these glitches? OTPs take a longer time to generate. uh, and there has been poor design in portal. There are cases of data loss in this portal, and it is not easy for everyone to operate. So these are some of the issues with it. Now forward to the another article, the last article of today's discussion. It was in the newspaper that the Dardo, they had tested long range glide bomb, namely Garo. They had tested it in the Odisha. It was air launched. It was launched from Su-30 MKI. It has fired 100 kg glide bomb, and it has precisely hit the target. This technology, it relies on the GPS data, and it is known that it precisely hits the target. And we had recently discussed about how it is important for India to develop a domestic industry for defense. And fortunately, this has been indigenously designed by the RCI in Hyderabad. So they had successfully tested it, and it can be huge development. It can be the huge it can be the huge development in the defense industry. So with this we conclude today's discussion. I hope you would like the video. I hope you would share it with your friends, and I hope you would definitely subscribe the channel. Now let's look at the final revision what we discussed today. The first article which we discussed was about India's foreign policy, how it is seen that India has failed in its foreign policy with respect to its neighborhood, with respect to its extreme neighborhood. We had seen the cases of anti-India stands there. We had seen the cases of government toppling. For example, in 2021, military regime in Myanmar. In 2021, Taliban reign over country. In 2022, Sri Lanka economic crisis. In 22 itself, Imran Khan's government got toppled. In Nepal, we had recently coalition government fallen. KP Oli, he's not a pro-Indian leader, and he came back into the power. And also in Maldives, we had seen Muhammad Muizzu's government who has the anti-India stand. And now in the Bangladesh, we discussed it. We saw that either India's intelligence was not aware of these conditions, or we underestimated the power of the youth. We underestimated the power of Taliban in Taliban issue, and we did not try to develop the relation with them. And finally, our interests are in danger. Now what we can learn from them, we should try to implement in the future, that we should have to take care of these things. And after that we discussed about the governance in Delhi, how there is always a standoff between the UT and the Union government of Delhi and the Union government of India. There are always conflict of interests, and we discussed recent Supreme Court judgment where the Lieutenant Governor can nominate officials for Municipal Corporation of Delhi without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. And also we saw that how it undermines the Delhi government's, and we discussed a little bit historic background of Delhi government. After that, we saw that constant friction between the center and the Delhi government. We saw different cases in 2016, what happened, how it was overruled in 2018, and finally another amendment was brought in and that was overruled. Then the government of NCT of Delhi Amendment 2023 Act was brought in, where it curtailed the transfer of officials by the Chief Minister of Delhi, and also brought in the National Capital Civil Service Authority. You know, these things had curtailed the powers of the elected government in Delhi, and we discussed a few of the solutions which can be brought in by which we can solve these conditions, like only the New Delhi part should be kept under the union government and rest should be given to the state government itself. Like land, police and public order, it should be given to the union government in the New Delhi part only. After that, we discussed about the CRS, civil registration system, to register every birth and death that happen in the country, how it was previously under the state governments, how states used to do it, and to bring the uniformity in the country, it was brought in. Then finally we discussed about the Dordo as the tested long range glide bomb, namely Garo. So with this we complete today's discussion. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you very much.